The number one mistake beginners make? Setting up at night. Do it in the daytime, Cray. Then stargazing becomes easy.
All right, let's talk about turning that curiosity you feel when you look up at the night sky into a real, honest-to-goodness backyard adventure. In this explainer, we're going to break down the world of telescopes, cut through the confusion, and get you ready for your very first night under the stars.
I mean, of course you have, right? It's a totally universal feeling. That little pull you get wondering what the craters on the moon really look like up close, or if you could actually see the rings of Saturn. Well, we're about to turn that wish into a solid plan.
Because then you start looking and you hear all these words: aperture, focal length, reflectors, refractors. It can feel like you need an astrophysics degree just to buy one. But hey, don't worry. Think of this explainer as your map. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly what you're looking for.
So let's start with the absolute basics. And I want you to stop thinking of a telescope as some super complex machine. Instead, just picture it as your own personal window, opening up to the rest of the universe.
And that's it. That's the whole secret right there. Whether you're talking about a small scope for your porch or the Hubble Space Telescope floating out in space, the job is exactly the same. Gather up as much of that faint, ancient light as you possibly can and funnel it directly to your eye.
So how did they actually do that? Well, when you boil it all down, there are really three main ways they're designed. You can think of them as three different paths you can take on your journey out into the cosmos.
Okay, so the two classic designs, they're kind of like a fascinating choice you have to make. On one hand, you have reflectors. They use mirrors. Now, the cool thing about mirrors is that you can make them really big without spending a ton of money, and that size is perfect for gathering faint light from way out in deep space. Then you've got refractors. They use lenses, kind of like a classic pirate spyglass, and they are famous for giving you these incredibly sharp, high-contrast views. They make planets and the moon just pop. So it really is a choice. Do you want the raw light-gathering power for deep space, or that pristine clarity for our neighbors in the solar system?
But what if you're thinking, man, I don't want to choose? Well, that's where this third option comes in, the Catadioptric. It's a hybrid. It cleverly uses both mirrors and lenses. This tag-team approach helps it correct for these tiny optical distortions that all telescopes have, and it delivers amazing, versatile images in a design that's surprisingly compact and easy to carry around. It really is the best of both worlds option.
All right, now that we know the different types, let's get personal. This part is all about you, about matching the right piece of gear to your own stargazing dreams.
Okay, if you only remember one single word from this entire explainer, please make it this one: aperture. All it means is the diameter of the telescope's main mirror or lens. The easiest way to think about it is like the pupil of your eye. The wider it opens, the more light gets in, right? Well, in astronomy, light is absolutely everything. More light means brighter images, clearer images, and way more detail.
And this is where aperture really shows you what it's made of. Look at this. A smaller, beginner scope, maybe around 60 millimeters, is going to top out around 100 times magnification, which is still cool, but just look at the jump. Once you get up to a 200 millimeter scope, you can push it all the way to 400 times magnification. So a bigger aperture doesn't just make things look bigger, it literally unlocks a whole new level of the universe for you to see.
And that brings us to the key question you have to ask yourself. When you imagine yourself out there, under the stars, what do you really want to look at? Your answer to this question is going to point you straight to the perfect telescope for you.
So let's play matchmaker. If you're dreaming about hunting for those faint, fuzzy galaxies and beautiful nebulae, you need the light bucket that is a large aperture reflector or catadioptric. No question. But if you're more excited about seeing the cloud bands on Jupiter or splitting a double star into two tiny points of light, then you want the crisp, high-contrast view of a refractor. And what about our closest celestial buddy, the moon? Honestly, any scope will give you a breathtaking view. But a good quality refractor will make those craters look so sharp you'll feel like you could reach out and touch them.
Okay, you did it. You picked your scope, the boxes arrived, and tonight the sky is perfectly clear. Now what? Let's walk through getting from the cardboard box to the cosmos without all the usual frustration.
Your first time is just 3 simple steps: assemble, align, and focus. But listen, here's the #1 pro tip I can give you. Do this for the very first time during the day. Seriously, it is so much easier to line everything up on a distant treetop or a telephone pole when you can see what you're doing than trying to do it in the dark on a tiny little star.
And please don't try to find the Andromeda Galaxy on your first night out. Start with the moon. It's big, it's bright, you can't miss it, it's the perfect target. Just get a feel for the controls, swap your eyepieces in and out, see how the view changes. Just play with it. Once you build up some confidence, then you can start hunting for those fainter, deep sky treasures.
Okay, before we wrap this up, let's just peek under the hood for a second and look at the super simple science that's powering your new view of the universe.
So here's a huge misconception. People think a telescope just has one magnification power. Nope, the power is actually a team effort between the telescope itself and the eyepiece you pop into it, and you are in complete control. All you do is take the telescope's focal length and divide it by the eyepiece's focal length. A smaller number on the eyepiece gives you higher magnification. It's that simple. This little formula right here puts you in the driver's seat for how much you zoom in.
And that's really the journey, isn't it? You started out just looking up and wondering, and now you've got the knowledge you need to choose the right tool, to set it up, and to actually start exploring the universe totally on your own terms. You've gone from a curious observer to an empowered explorer.
So the only question left is the most exciting one of all. Now that you know how to pick your own window to the cosmos, what new wonder, what distant galaxy, what little detail on a planet, what will you be the first to discover for yourself? The universe is out there, waiting.